My name is Alice Morgan. I'm 31 years old and live in Brooklyn, New York. If someone asked me when I started over, I probably wouldn't answer, because the truth is, I was never given a chance to start. I grew up in a small town in Oregon, where everything revolved around my parents' idea of a perfect family. My dad was a structural engineer, my mom a high school teacher, and my brother Adam, the golden child of the entire family. Every time someone mentioned Adam, they spoke with the kind of pride reserved for heroes. He has his father's smile and his mother's brains. And me? I was the quiet daughter, the one who read books alone, unremarkable, forgettable. I remember vividly my 16th birthday. Adam got a brand new red Jeep Wrangler with a giant ribbon, just like in those commercials. Me? A set of second-hand books wrapped in newspaper. No card, no note. When I asked, my mom said, "You love books, don't you?" Then turned to Adam. "Don't forget to thank your dad for the car." I was smart, very smart, but at home, grades were never enough to make them pause and actually see me. While Adam failed to get into college twice and was still praised for finding his path, I secured a full-ride scholarship to NYU, one of the country's top computer science programs. All I got was, "New York is expensive, figure it out." They didn't give me a single dollar, but when Adam got accepted to a private college in California, they threw him a going-away party and paid all his tuition. That Thanksgiving cut deep. I flew home with a torn suitcase after pulling 3 consecutive shifts at a coffee shop, rushing to finish my final project. I placed the pumpkin pie I had baked from scratch on the table. My mom glanced at it and pushed it aside. "I already made one, Alice, we don't need more." At dinner, my dad raised a glass to toast Adam for launching his own mobile gaming startup. The room erupted in applause. Then someone asked, just to be polite, "And Alice?" My mom chuckled. "She's still studying computer science, something with machines." A few relatives nodded vaguely. One muttered, "Like fixing printers?" Laughter followed. I forced a weak smile. No one knew I was ranked in the top 3 of my class. No one asked. I didn't stay for dessert. I stood up, grabbed my coat, and said flatly, "Thanks for the meal." My mom looked away. Adam called after me, "Don't get mad, you're so sensitive." I didn't reply. That night, I boarded a bus back to New York, sitting alone in the last row, headphones on with no music playing. I rented a tiny room near Harlem. Moldy walls, creaky floors. But at least it was mine. I worked weekends at a car wash, did freelance coding online, and survived on instant noodles month after month. No one helped me. But I didn't need anyone anymore. I graduated with a perfect GPA. A week after the ceremony, I received a job offer from a cybersecurity firm based in Manhattan, working with government-level systems. Not only was I hired, I was named lead on a project integrating AI into enterprise-level banking firewalls. 2 years later, I got promoted. 3 months after that, I signed the contract for my first apartment. A studio in the heart of Brooklyn, with gray tile floors, high ceilings, and huge windows facing the park. When I held the keys, I didn't cry. I just clenched my fist and thought, "This is mine. I built this." No one in my family knew what I was doing in New York. No one cared. I'd disappeared from the Christmas photos my mom posted every year, replaced by the neighbor's dog or a fake plastic tree. They erased me from the story. And I let them. In my world, though, the name Alice Morgan was slowly gaining weight. After 3 years at Halcyon Systems, a cybersecurity company serving major financial institutions and several federal agencies, I was promoted to lead systems integration. When the CTO called me into his office, he said one thing: "Alice, most people don't understand what you do. But without you, the whole system would collapse." My salary had already passed 6 figures. Each quarter my performance bonus was enough to pay off my entire mortgage in 3 years if I wanted. But I wasn't flashy. I still took the subway to work, packed my own sandwiches for lunch, and wore an old watch I'd bought back in college. My apartment in Carroll Gardens was compact but sun-filled. I chose it because the morning light hit just right on the desk where I liked to code. Pine wood floors, high ceilings, exposed red brick. I kept it all intact, only adding a vintage map of New York for charm. I didn't post anything on social media. On LinkedIn, my bio simply read, "Currently working in enterprise security system development." Even if my mom searched, she wouldn't find a trace. They wanted me gone. So I disappeared on my terms, quiet, precise, and without leaving a single thread for them to pull. The people who truly knew me could be counted on one hand. Emma, my college roommate, now a human rights lawyer. Sean, a colleague from my first year, who once stayed up all night helping me debug a misplaced comma. And Lynn, a Taiwanese designer who lived downstairs and shared my first dinner in the new apartment over instant noodles and scented candles before I installed lighting. We didn't host loud get-togethers. Once a month I'd invite them over. A worn oak table I found on Craigslist. A beige linen tablecloth, beeswax candles, mismatched plates that were clean enough. Some nights we built our own tacos, other nights homemade pizza. We talked politics, design theory, the latest tech scandals. And sometimes, just sometimes, I'd tell a short story about the old town. About Adam. About the time my mom pulled away when I tried to hug her before leaving. "Do you ever think about telling them how you're really doing?" Emma once asked while pouring more wine. I shook my head. They don't care. And honestly, I don't feel like anything's missing. It wasn't bitterness. I just learned that some things are better left untouched. Like deep scars that only ache when pressed. Last December, I received an unexpected project bonus, $85,000 after tax. It was a milestone. The risk analysis system our team designed had just been adopted by one of the country's top 5 banks across their entire global network. I quietly moved part of it into a long-term investment fund. The rest? I bought an Italian espresso machine I'd been eyeing for years. No one praised me, but each morning, as I inhaled the scent of fresh espresso, I felt I was living right. And living enough. Toward the end of the year, Halcyon asked me to speak at a tech conference in Chicago. On stage, discussing data security in the AI era, I looked out over hundreds of eyes watching me, and remembered the moment my mom once said, "You should choose a more feminine career. Working with computers all day will leave you single." I ended my presentation with a line that made the whole room go quiet. I was once told to stay quiet so I'd be easier to love. But I've found that everything I've built came from doing the opposite. When the applause came, I didn't feel proud. I felt free. Free because, at last, I didn't need to prove my worth to anyone but myself. That night, I sat alone in the hotel room, watching snowfall outside the window. A message from Lynn popped up. "Your apartment looks like it belongs in a design magazine now." I smiled, then quietly turned off my phone. Not because I wanted to avoid anyone, but because I was finally living the life I rewrote from scratch. Not with tears, but with code, discipline, and silence. Exactly when it mattered most. I was making coffee when the phone rang. It wasn't a number I recognized, but it wasn't blocked either. A soft, hesitant voice came through. "Alice, it's me, Natalie." I froze for a second. Natalie? My cousin. Aunt Carol's daughter. The last person in the family I still spoke to before I cut ties completely. "What's going on?" I asked, my hand still resting on the espresso lever. "I'm not sure how to say this. But your parents want you to come home for Christmas." 8 or 8 years? I blurted out, then let out a short laugh. "I know it sounds weird, but they asked if I still had your number. I told them I did. They said if you agreed, they'd welcome you properly." I turned off the drip from the pour-over and set the cup on the counter. Outside, snow had started to fall. The kind that hinted December was about to take over. "When now?" "I don't know for sure. Maybe because Adam moved back in after his startup fell apart. Maybe because Grandma's getting weaker. Or maybe because you're doing well. Natalie paused. They said they want to make amends. Make amends. It sounded like the tap of a knife on a glass cup. Fragile, hollow, and not quite real. I didn't answer Natalie right away. After the call, I walked nearly an hour through the snow to my office. Not because I had to, but because I needed to think. Every step on the icy sidewalk echoed a question. What do they want? Are they serious? And more importantly, do I need their forgiveness to finally close the chapter? A week later, I sent an email. I'll come to Oregon. 3 days. I didn't give them an exact arrival time or ask if they needed me to bring anything. I booked the cheapest flight, rented a car from the airport, and drove straight to the old house. The same one where I used to count the cracks in my bedroom ceiling during high school. The house hadn't changed much. The white picket fence was peeling, the porch leaned slightly to one side, and the pine tree in the yard looked even older than I remembered. I let the engine run for a few seconds, took a deep breath. Mom opened the door. She looked smaller than in my memory, as if 8 years had dulled the sharpness in her eyes. She stepped onto the porch, raising a hand like she wasn't sure whether to hug me. I gave a small nod. You really came back. 3 days, I reminded her. And I drove myself. Inside, the house smelled familiar. Old wood, pre-cooked food, and an air freshener barely masking something older. Adam sat on the couch, legs propped on the coffee table, phone in hand. He looked up without smiling. Well, look who it is, the big shot developer from New York. Remember where your spot is? I glanced at him, hung my coat, kicked off my shoes, and walked straight into the kitchen. Mom followed behind. I made your favorite meat pie from when you were little. Your dad will be so happy to see you. Is he home? Out shopping with Adam. They'll be back soon. Oh, your old room is Adam's office now. You'll be sleeping in the living room. I nodded. No surprise there. Dinner wasn't terrible. I didn't say much. Adam dominated the table, going on and on about investment opportunities, new product chains, and strategic visions. My parents nodded like they were watching a TED Talk. How about you? Dad finally asked, as if realizing I was present. I'm fine, I said. Work is good. To doing something with computer networks, Mom added, eyes still fixed on her soup. Enterprise security for large companies. Adam smirked. Like stopping hackers, huh, cool. I said nothing. After dinner, I helped Mom clear the table. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the plates. I noticed her glance at me briefly before looking away. Thanks for coming back, she said softly. Even if it's just for a few days. I looked at her. I wanted to ask, why now? I wanted to ask, did you ever think about me in the past 8 years? But instead, I gave a dry smile. I came to see if anything's really changed. Then I turned around and poured more hot water into my mint tea. Christmas Eve. The house was strangely crowded. Wooden chairs were lined along the hallway, the dining table extended with 2 worn folding tables, mismatched tablecloths barely covering the scuffed surface. The warm yellow lighting gave the place a cozy illusion, if you didn't know what was really about to unfold inside. Mom pointed me toward a chair near the kitchen, right beside the dishwasher, where steam and garlic oil rose nonstop. The chair had no cushion, its back wobbly. I glanced around. Adam sat in the center, flanked by my parents, Aunt Carol, Uncle Henry, and other relatives from my dad's side. A few cousins, I hadn't seen since 2015, were there too. Everyone had a proper seat. Except me. Perfect timing, my mom said loudly, making sure the whole table heard. We still had a spot left. I pulled the chair out and sat down without a word. In front of me was a white plastic fork, the kind you find at office potlucks. Everyone else was using the silver flatware Mom only brought out for special occasions. Adam, as if waiting for his cue, launched into his pitch. We're heading into our second funding round. This product is a mental health app for content creators. The AI analyzes speech and keywords to detect signs of stress. Sounds brilliant, Uncle Henry exclaimed. You looking for investors? My dad leaned on his elbows, clearly excited. How much do you need to get started? About 200,000 should be enough to finish the MVP, Adam said, eyes gleaming. Then we'll demo it at the conference in Austin this March. I looked up, trying not to laugh. 200 grand for a prototype, with no validation, no user testing, no baseline data? Adam turned to me, lips curled. Oh, right. You're the cybersecurity person, huh? Still typing code in some basement all day? Tough life. I smiled. Some days, yeah. Others, I'm flying to meet clients. Last week I was in Boston with the tech team from a major finance firm. They just signed a $2.5 million contract for the integrated system we built. Silence. Just the sound of forks clinking against plates. Mom cut in, trying to redirect the energy. Let's not talk about work tonight. It's the holidays. Everyone, eat up. Aunt Carol turned to me, tilting her head. Sounds like your job keeps you busy, but do you feel connected to anything? I didn't quite get the question, but I understood the implication. No husband, no kids, no photos of gingerbread houses or matching pajamas. To them, that meant my life was empty. I'm connected enough, I replied calmly. Not everyone measures fulfillment the same way. Adam chuckled. Sounds like a TED Talk. Next time, wear a turtleneck and bring a clicker. The whole table laughed. I set my fork down and took a slow breath. It wasn't the joke that bothered me. It was the repetition. Same laughter, same glances, same feeling I had 15 years ago. They hadn't changed. Still making me feel like the dramatic one, even when I was just breathing. After dinner, my mom handed me a wool blanket and a thin pillow. You can set up on the living room sofa. Adam's using your room as his office now. Printer, papers, all that stuff. I nodded. Thanks, Mom. Oh, she added, make sure to pack it up in the morning, the kids are coming early. I placed the blanket on the couch, saying nothing. On the mantel near the fireplace, a framed photo of Adam in his graduation suit still sat proudly. No picture of me. No memory. No trace I'd ever existed here. In the quiet living room, I opened my laptop to check emails. One stood out. A speaking invitation from a cybersecurity conference in San Francisco. They wanted me to be the keynote speaker on opening day. Topic: Building strong foundations in an unstable world. I stared at the words for a long time. Then I typed, I accept. Please send the prep schedule. When I closed the laptop, I looked up at the ceiling. The old crack stretched from the light fixture to the edge of the wall, still there. But I wasn't the person under it anymore. Christmas morning, I woke up earlier than everyone else. The sun hadn't fully risen, its pale light filtering through the living room window, casting a faint glow over the sofa where I'd slept the night before. I quietly brewed coffee, using the clunky old machine on the kitchen counter. The thin aroma reminded me I was no longer the 18-year-old girl who used to cry silently in her old bedroom. By 8 a.m., footsteps echoed from the stairs. Adam and his wife, Grace, came down like they were in a commercial for the perfect family holiday. She was 6 months pregnant, belly visible under a beige knit dress. They wore matching pajamas, with Mom and Dad-to-be printed across their chests. "Merry Christmas!" Adam said loudly, as if demanding everyone join in. My parents appeared right behind them, arms full of gift boxes wrapped in ribbons of every color. The Christmas tree in the corner was nearly buried under a mountain of packages. I stepped forward and placed my own small gifts on the coffee table. Each one chosen thoughtfully, carefully, for each person. A pair of real leather gloves for Dad, because I knew he still drove to work in the freezing cold. A bottle of luxury perfume for Mom, the exact one she once mentioned in a magazine I happened to read. A hardcover collection by Malcolm Gladwell for Adam, because if he was serious about running a startup, he could start by reading. And for Grace, a cashmere scarf, as light as air, in olive green, perfect for her complexion and soft eyes. As the gifts were opened, no one said anything for a few seconds. "Wow," my mom finally said. "This perfume. It's the limited edition." My dad nodded. "Nice gloves. Not cheap either." Grace rubbed the scarf against her cheek. "Thank you, Alice. Real." Adam picked up the book, read the author's name, and scoffed. "Still gifting the deep stuff, huh?" I didn't respond. When the gifts were all unwrapped, I sat back down, sipping from my coffee cup. "What about Alice's present?" Grace asked, glancing around, puzzled. Silence. All eyes turned to my mother. She gave a nervous laugh. "Oh my goodness, I must have forgotten. My brain these days, maybe I left it somewhere upstairs." "It's okay," I said quickly. "Everyone's busy." Adam burst out laughing. "Haha, just like when we were kids. Mom always forgot, and you'd get all serious about it. Come on, you're grown now." Still calm, I replied. "It's really okay. Actually, I'd prepared a little something for myself this year." I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out a set of stainless steel keys, holding them up. The morning light caught the polished surface, flashing across the room. My mom frowned. "What's that?" "Keys to my new apartment in SoHo. 2 bedrooms, big balcony, near the river. I officially closed last week." The room fell as quiet as if someone had pulled the plug. My dad looked up. "You bought it? You mean, with your own money?" "Of course," I said, placing the keys on the table. "Bonus from the last project we wrapped up with Morgan and Brock, the investment bank in Boston. The company paid me $150,000 after taxes." Adam stopped laughing. Grace stopped touching the scarf. My mom stepped back slightly, gripping the edge of her chair. "$150,000? She echoed, her voice cracking. "Just the bonus," I emphasized. "Doesn't include base salary or equity." My dad looked at my mom, then back at me. "What exactly do you do at that company?" "Lead systems integration," I said. "I handle high-level security architecture and risk analysis. I manage Fortune 500 corporate accounts." I wasn't bragging, I was telling the truth. The kind of truth they had never wanted to hear. Mom's tone shifted immediately, like flipping a switch she'd used 1,000 times. "Oh my gosh, Alice, you're incredible, we're so proud of you. I had no idea you'd come this far. Why didn't you tell us sooner? We would have celebrated with you." I gave a dry smile. "You never asked." Adam sat up straight. "SoHo, huh? Is it big? Near the subway? Are you thinking of renting out the second room?" I looked at my brother, then at my parents. Their eyes were shimmering with hope. Not the kind that came from love, but the kind that waited for a share. "The apartment's mine," I said firmly. "I bought it to live in, not to prove anything." No one said another word. The coffee had gone cold. But in me something clearer had awakened. Sharp and certain, like the sound of keys landing on a wooden table. I had always existed here, they had just never chosen to see it. That afternoon, after Christmas lunch, Mom called me into the dining room where Dad and Adam were already seated. They'd made coffee, 3 cups on the table, like it was a formal meeting. I stepped in, sensing the shift in the air. No more sarcasm or dismissive glances, just a forced calm hiding urgency. "Sit down, sweetheart," my dad said, his voice unusually gentle. It made me wary. I sat but didn't touch the coffee. Adam cleared his throat. "You know, my app project is at a critical stage. We have a prototype, positive feedback, now we need to scale. And to do that, we need funding." I looked at him. His eyes weren't smug, just calculating. "And we thought," Dad added, This could be a great opportunity for the whole family. Family invests in each other, right? I said nothing. You mentioned getting a big bonus, Mom chimed in. This is the perfect time to invest in something promising. Just 200 grand, Adam said like he was asking for grocery money. That's probably nothing for you now. I folded my hands calmly, even surprising myself. No. Silence. No, Mom echoed, voice sharper than usual. I'm not giving money to anyone in this family, I said clearly. Especially not for an untested idea with no proven revenue model, led by someone who's never held a job longer than a year. Adam flushed. You're underestimating me. No, I replied. I'm evaluating based on facts. And the fact that you've been praised endlessly despite proving nothing. Yeah. I've seen that all my life. Mom slammed her hand on the table. Alice, you're being unreasonable. This is a chance to reconnect. To heal the years we've lost. I cut in. Lost years caused by who? When I got the full ride to NYU, everyone congratulated Adam for not giving up. When I moved out, what did you say? Figure it out. Meanwhile, Adam had a whole send-off party. I haven't forgotten. Dad frowned. Things were tight back then. Tight, but still enough to buy Adam a car for his 18th birthday? While I got a used book and a broken umbrella? I smirked. Funny how now you're preaching connection and family. Adam growled. So this is revenge? Using money to shame our parents? This isn't revenge, I said coldly. This is me refusing to be used anymore. Mom shot up. You're selfish. This family raised you, fed you, educated you. I stood too. Raised me? That's a parent's duty. And school. NYU paid for me, Mom, not you. You'll regret this, she screamed. One day you'll need your family, and no one here will be waiting. I looked at them, 3 people who'd made me feel like a stranger in my own home. Used to wait, I whispered. Waited to be seen. To be treated like I belonged. But I've outgrown that. I'm done waiting. I walked out, packed my bags in under 2 minutes. When I returned, Mom was in the hallway, pale, wide-eyed with rage or shock. I'm going back to New York, I said, opening the door. I don't need this house or a family that circles like vultures at the scent of money. She stepped forward. Then don't ever come back. I nodded. That's the first sensible thing you've ever said to me. The door clicked shut, like a book torn from its spine. I stepped into the wind. Not cold, just light. The bus pulled out of town just as the sunset slipped behind the pine ridge to the west. I didn't look back. Everything inside me had already shut down. Not from fresh wounds, but because the old ones had finally healed in the most unexpected way. With finality. 3 days after I returned to Brooklyn, the first flood of messages came in. The first was from Aunt Carol. What you did to your mother was cruel. Who treats their family like that? Then Uncle Henry. Don't forget who raised you. Adam is your brother. He needs your support. I read them without replying. They never messaged when I washed dishes, to afford college textbooks, never called when I was living in a damp room in Harlem. But now that they knew I had money, they reappeared. As if fairness was a debt I owed in cash. I blocked each number without hesitation. Except one, Natalie. Natalie called me that Friday evening, her voice soft over the phone. I didn't know things at home got that bad. Mom says, you've changed. I laughed. If changed means I don't stay silent when I'm disrespected anymore, then yeah. I changed. I'm proud of you, she whispered. I really am. I said nothing. But after I hung up, I smiled. Natalie was the only one who never asked me for anything. Not even forgiveness. In February, I got promoted at Halcyon Systems. New position, lead architect for a national hospital network's AI-integrated internal security infrastructure. I led a team of 12 engineers, worked directly with government-level stakeholders, and oversaw the entire testing and deployment process. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to prove I was worth something. Everyone on the team listened to me, collaborated with me, believed in me. Not out of obligation but because I was genuinely good at what I did. Good in the way no one in my family ever wanted to admit. Every Tuesday night, I still went to that little bar near the corner of Smith and Carroll, where the leather sofas were worn and the string lights glowed warm. That's where I met Jamie, a tech consultant for social impact startups. She was smart, witty, a great listener, and never once asked about my family. We usually talked about the unexpected, data privacy, women in tech, and the best ramen spots around Brooklyn. In April, Jamie introduced me to her best friend, Andrew. He was a freelance product designer who lived in Williamsburg. Curly hair, deep eyes, and most importantly, he respected people's space. When I told him I had cut off my biological family, he didn't ask, why? He just said, sometimes, the best thing we can do for people is disappear, so we both can breathe. I liked that Andrew didn't try to fix me. He wasn't in a hurry to build anything. He just walked with me through every little stretch of a journey I'd never had company on. Every time I said, I'm okay being alone, he'd just smile, me too. But that doesn't mean it has to stay that way. We didn't put labels on what we were. But I knew I was loved. In a quiet way, without conditions, without pressure, without weaponizing past pain. One early summer day, as Andrew and I ate ice cream on a bench in Fort Greene Park, my phone buzzed. A text from Natalie. Mom just told the whole extended family you won the lottery. I had to laugh. They're trying to find ways to contact you. I replied with one short sentence. Let them think that. I did win. P. Andrew glanced over, tilting his head. Funny message? I nodded, slipping the phone into my pocket. My old family just added another conspiracy theory to the list. So, now their list's longer than Marvel's, he teased. I laughed. Not the forced kind, an honest, comfortable laugh. In September that year, I received a package, with no return address. Just a scribbled note. We need to talk. Urgent. Inside was a rough business plan from Adam, along with a blue ink message. The family is struggling. If Alice can contribute at least $100,000, we'd all be grateful. Adam. I didn't respond. I wasn't even angry. I just found it amusing. Once, they said I was a burden. Now they saw me as the only life raft in the waters drowning them. About a week later, Natalie texted, Adam called my mom, heard they might lose the house to the bank. I didn't ask why. I didn't feel like I needed to do anything. It wasn't heartlessness. I just wasn't naive anymore. I used to believe they'd one day realize their mistakes, apologize, make things right. But no. They didn't regret hurting me, they only regretted that I was no longer easy to control. That winter, Andrew and I moved in together, into a 3-story brownstone in Park Slope. I bought the house with savings and dividends from 4 years at Halcyon. We renovated the ground floor into a shared workspace. I had my own programming office, while Andrew set up a small design studio with white walls and wooden shelves full of mock-up. Every morning, we drank coffee on the front steps. Andrew often placed a small plate of pastries on the railing for the gray squirrel living in the oak tree out front. I read the news on my iPad, leaning my head on his shoulder. We didn't say much, but it was the most peaceful moment of the day. I had spent my life running from the noise of family. Now I was learning how to live in the quiet of my own making. I stayed in touch with Natalie. She was the only one in the family who didn't try to explain or mediate. She just talked about ordinary things. Her part-time library job, her new boyfriend who played the banjo, and how her roasted cauliflower failed because she mixed up salt with sugar. One Saturday night I asked, "Want to come visit Brooklyn for winter break? I've got a spare room, and my oven is epic." Natalie nearly squealed through the phone. Yes, I'm booking a ticket now. And I'm bringing the right kind of flower. I wasn't expecting much from the visit, but when she walked in and hugged me like I was the only family she had left, I realized something. Real family isn't always built on blood. It's built on the moments you choose to stay. For no reason at all. By spring, I was nominated for the top 50 women in cybersecurity in America. I didn't tell anyone back home. I didn't post it online. I just printed the article, framed it, and hung it next to a photo of me and Andrew in a community garden. Hands dirty, grinning like two kids. The next day, Natalie sent me a screenshot of my mother's Facebook post. My daughter is successful, but she forgot where she came from. I smiled faintly. I hadn't forgotten where I came from. I had just learned not to go back. I don't regret walking away. I don't regret cutting ties. I don't regret stopping the chase for validation that should have been mine from the start. I'm not richer than anyone else. I'm just older than the version of me who once thought silence could make someone love her more. Now, I love myself. I love the life I've built with my own hands. I love the peace of waking up without fear of being called ungrateful, stubborn, or selfish just because I dared to protect myself. I don't need applause for my achievements anymore. I don't need anyone saying my name at family gatherings just to remind everyone I used to be one of them. I only need one thing I never had before: the right to choose who gets to be near me. And I choose the people who respect the quiet in me, instead of suffocating it with empty expectations. I survived my past. Now, I live. Fully. And enough. Alice's story is a powerful reminder that not everyone labeled family deserves your unconditional sacrifice and forgiveness. When kinship becomes an excuse for manipulation, hurt, and entitlement, walking away isn't selfish, it's maturity. In real life, if you've ever been cast aside simply for living differently, remember: you don't need validation from those who once wounded you. True peace begins the moment you choose yourself, without asking for permission, and without regret. What's your take on Alice's decision? Was she too harsh, or was she finally protecting herself after too much pain? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful family stories.